Hello and welcome to Markets Today. I'm Lata Venkatesh and with me is Rima Tendulkar. Well, after a gap of about 3-4 days of the markets declining, today the markets put up a very spirited show. That 8,700 level, which one thought would be a challenge for the Nifty, got taken in no time, and for a better part of the day, the Nifty maintained an almost 1% lead over the dreaded 8,700 mark. So clearly a day of comeback for the markets. Hi, Rima.
Hi, Lata. And also turned out to be a fairly steady session. We had a gap up opening, we maintained it, and then we made a dash towards that 8,800 mark in the last 30 minutes. So overall, a very good show, particularly the outperformance of the broader markets. But let's kickstart the show with the top stories. Markets snap a 3-day losing streak to close well above that 8,750 mark, led by strength in metal stocks and ITC. Mid-caps outperform with a gain of nearly 2%. In heavies, NTPC nears its 52-week high on fixing the record date for bonus debentures, while ITC gains on a likely price hike.
Insurance stocks like Max India and Reliance Capital gained on hopes of insurance bill being passed by the Rajya Sabha today.
Dollar index hits the magic number of 100 for the first time since April 2003. This brings its 2015 rally to nearly 11%.
Right, those are some of the themes that played out in the markets today, which we will discuss. Let's tell you the experts that we have lined up on the show for you. Market perspective from Bipin Sheth of HDFC Securities and Claudio Piron from the Bank of America will join in to talk about that 100 mark touched by the dollar index and the impact on currencies and other asset classes. Also, of course, we will have Sudarshan Sukhani to join in to talk about the technicals of the market.
But first up, let's discuss the market today. The bulls are back on Dalal Street after a brief hiatus, and the markets have finally broken that 3-day losing streak. Anuj Singhal is here with us as always to discuss the day's trading action. Anuj, is this just a relief rally, or do you get the signs that we are at the start of a sustained recovery?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, the jury is out on whether the rally today was just a counter-trend rally, or has the correction ended and today signified the first step of going back to all-time highs. That's something that we'll find out over the next few days. But today, the way the market rallied, the bulls had a field day, especially in the mid-caps. Mid-caps really, the action was quite amazing, especially in the F&O stocks, and some of the stocks had big run. Let's talk about the stocks then. First, the Nifty, the three stocks that essentially led the market move today. ITC, ICICI and Infosys, the three Is, they were all up between 1.5% to 2.5% in today's trade. Some other prominent Nifty winners included stocks like Tata Motors, NTPC and also DLF. Apart from that, there was some short covering in metal stocks, so stocks like Sesa Sterlite, Hindalco, Tata Steel, all up between 2 to 4% in today's trade. But the real story was in the mid-caps, and within that, the sector of the day was mid-cap pharma. Natco Pharma was up 15%, 2,000 rupee stock, down that one. Ajanta Pharma 8%, Dishman Pharma was up 6%. Apart from that, high beta space really had a field day today. Reliance Capital was up 11%, Syntex 8%, NCC 9%. Not just that, Suzlon, IVRCL, Voltas, all these stocks up about 5 to 7% in today's trade. So that's the action for the day. The next 3 or 4 days will be crucial because they'll tell you whether this rally will be sold into or whether the market will go back to all-time highs.
Yes, point taken about high beta, Anuj. Well, there was one particular theme that, of course, played out very significantly, and you mentioned Reliance Capital. It's really the insurance angle with a lot of players expecting that foreign money will come into these stocks. Those were the ones that got chased. So you had, of course, Max India as well. At one point in time, much higher, almost 8% higher, but ending the day with about 5.5% in terms of gains. Exide, that has insurance investment in the ING JV. That was up about 4.5%. And other stocks like ICICI also were responding to practically this theme. But there was also some bit of element of adventurism in the mid-cap rally that we saw today. A lot of stocks which are beleaguered by high debt were also seen rising. You saw a lot of the infrastructure names, some of which Anuj mentioned, that were doing very well. Likewise, you saw gains in a lot of the metal stocks, which globally are not doing too well, doing well over here. So there was a bit of adventurism in the way in which some of the mid-caps gained. So this is also a rally people have to watch out for.
Okay, let's move on and get you some market opinion as well. Dipan Shea, the head of institutional research at HDFC Securities, says that the Nifty corrections are a part of the bull market and are an excellent opportunity to enter the market.
Certainly a speed breaker. I don't think it upsets the cart. There will be some outflows as the dollar appreciates, and you will see. So the big thesis that we have that this is the next big bull market isn't materially impacted, but the weaker hands will surely kind of have a rethink. Some short-term money flows might go out. It's going to drift in a range, and the range could be a little wider than what will be comforting for many people. And I like that about any market, especially a bull market. So it gives a lot of the people who were left on the sidelines when the move was too fast over May and the rest of last year. It'll give them some opportunities to re-enter. That's the constructive view. Now, if the event flows between now and let's say the next 6 months do not inspire. So what do you have in the pipe? You have a monsoon coming up. You have Q4 earnings coming up. You have a lot of policy action coming up. You have political developments coming up. Some 30% or 28-29% of Lok Sabha seats equivalent is going to go for state polls between now and the next 18 months.
Right. That's some perspective about how the year might pan out. Now for all the action today from the futures and auction space, let's go across to Ushank Singh.
Well, thanks for that. So it was a good trading session today. We saw the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty surge around 0.5%. This comes post both these indices losing around 2 to 3% for the week so far. But the put-call ratio has been trending higher at 0.98 levels versus 0.95 levels earlier yesterday, with the India Volatility Index dipping another 2.5%, taking the cuts to nearly 25% for this whole series so far, is suggesting some bit of positive signs over there. Look at the options data. Further positive signs seen over there with 8,800 put, where the premium has dipped nearly 32%, whereas the 8,800 call is seeing some bit of buying, suggesting that the participants are expecting that the 8,700 is a near-term support with higher levels which can be probable in the next couple of trading sessions. In terms of the stock futures, ADAG pack stocks did pretty well, with Reliance Capital leading the gains of around 11.5%, some fresh longs on that counter. Otherwise, stocks like Reliance Infra, Relcom as well as Reliance Power gained around 3.5 to 5.5% in trade today. Incremental buying was additionally seen in telecom stocks. So look at Idea Cellular, which closed higher by 6.5%, added nearly 17 lakh shares into the open interest. Otherwise, Bharti Airtel also did pretty well with 1.5% gains. Kane India, which had been trading weak for the week, losing around 2.5% for the week so far, did manage to close with gains of around 4.5% in trade today. Metal stocks, which have been weak so far, have been seeing strong buying activity in trade today, like Sasa Sterlite gained around 4%, Hindalco so did see some short covering bounce back. Stock closed with gains of around 3%, Tata Steel up 3%. And finally, Unitech as well as JP Associates deserve a mention. Both these stocks surged nearly 4 to 5% on account of fresh buying, which was seen in terms of heavy open interest additions in trade today as well. On that note, back to you.
Thanks, Ushank, for that. But let's focus on the sector of the day. Insurance companies like Max India and Reliance Capital surged very sharply today on anticipation of major fund inflows into the sector. Industry veterans are expecting the deal flow in the sector to go up with the new insurance bill. But there are also some deterrents. Ekta Batra is here, just standing by to tell us more. Ekta.
Hi, thanks for that. Well, like you mentioned, the capital inflows are expected to incrementally increase into the insurance space. In fact, 4 to 5 transactions are expected in the near term, maybe less than a year. And the overall inflow that we could see is roughly 80 to 90,000 crores in the next 3 years. Now, however, there are some deterrents. For example, one point of debate is the issuance of fresh capital. The committee was of the view that the incremental equity should ideally be used for expansion of capital use, and it was sort of implied that the sale of existing stakes will be included in that as well. However, there is a little bit of ambiguity on that, and the IRDA, we do understand, is expected to issue a clarification on the issuance of fresh capital as well. Now, the control will remain with the Indian management. That was one of the things that the foreign investors were concerned about, because if in case they do buy an additional 23%, they would like to get management control, which would be not possible with this clause. However, it is important to note that there are only few insurance companies right now where the control is with foreign players, and also this is applicable from now on and not when the FDI goes up to around 49% odd. Now, reports also indicated that an additional 23% would be offered only via equity with no voting rights. However, there is a relief to FDI, FII prospective investors simply because this is not applicable. Overall, general insurance companies won't see as much interest as life insurance companies. So a lot of stocks which have life insurance plays, such as ICICI Prudential, HDFC with HDFC Life, as well as SBI Life, Max India with their life insurance company, as well as RelCap, which has Reliance Life when Nippon has 26% stake. All of them should possibly benefit more than just general insurance plays.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Ekta. The other stock that surged very sharply today was ITC, up nearly 3%, amid reports that the company has hiked cigarette prices by up to 20%, varying degrees and varying brands. Pragya Bharadwaj is here to tell us what's the impact on the company's P&L. Pragya.
Well, absolutely, Lata, and that is why we saw that bump-up reaction on the stock price of ITC as well. Now, what we understand definitely from our sources that the blended weightage price hike that ITC has taken across cigarette lengths and various brands stands at about 15% of the company. CLSA has come out with a note on this, and they have said and indicated that the 15% price hike is actually more than what they were estimating for. And since the budget was introduced last year in July 2014, the combined price hike that ITC has taken just in the span of 1 year stands at roughly about 30%, and that could have a sort of a negative impact on the overall volumes, and there is a bit of uncertainty there. What the main question that the street was asking was, what will this mean for ITC? The analysts were earlier projecting a price hike of closer to about 12%, so 15% has definitely come in as a bit of a negative surprise for them. And in the light of all of that, now there remains that million-dollar question of what will happen to ITC's overall volumes. In Q3, the company saw a 12 to 14% decline in its overall volume, so the analyst community was expecting maybe a staggered price hike regime from the company, or maybe they would take onto some hit onto themselves. But in line with their historical strategy of passing on the entire excise duty onto the consumers, the company has now implemented this price hike. We also do know with a certain amount of clarity is that the retail prices and the fresh retail stock on this is still to come to the markets, and this is still under implementation, but the price hike definitely has been implemented by the company. This will secure the EBIT growth of the company is a certainty, but what will be the impact on the volumes, only time will tell. For now, could have a very damaging impact according to some analyst estimates. 5 to 8% is the kind of volume decline that they're estimating for FY16. Back to you.
Thanks a lot for that, but slightly less damaging on what it has on people who smoke. But in any case, what Pragya is telling us that the costlier cigarettes have not yet hit the market.
All right, let's shift focus then. Dollar index hitting 100 was clearly the talking point today. So let's get you some opinion from the global arena. Claudio Piron, the head of Emerging Asia Foreign Exchange and Fixed Income Strategy at Bank of America, expects a stable exchange rates for India and maintains that investors are bullish on the Indian equities.
The Reserve Bank of India is in no mood to allow the currency to appreciate too fast. So in effect what we will have is a stable exchange rate for India, but again a buoyant background in terms of foreign investment into bonds and equities. Is the prospect of the Fed raising interest rates, which will make potential US bonds more attractive in yield terms relative to international markets. Almost every client I speak to internationally is pretty much bullish on India. I think the difficulty that they face within within India's a domestic government bond market is limited access to that market, and that has spilled over obviously into the Indian corporate bond market. But again, there are limitations there, given that some mandates by international investors are contingent upon having an international credit rating for some of the corporate debt.
All right, that was some caution on what happens if the dollar continues to rise, but for India it seems pretty hunky-dory. Time for a break now, but coming up, Sudarshan Sukhani will join in for a technical chat. We'll also get you some trading ideas.
you.